morning. It's great to be worshipping with you this morning here in the room, and for everyone online, fantastic to be worshipping with you. And some of you here in the room, you got some good groove moves from the songs earlier on with the kids. That was a lot of fun, wasn't it? Well, as Alan mentioned, we're working through these significant themes in December of the Christian faith as we head towards Christmas. And today our sermon is titled, Remembering God's Promises of Joy. Speaking about joy, where does joy come from? And I want to ask you a question. And the question is this: are you hopeful or are you hope-filled? Are you hopeful or are you hope-filled? Because how you respond to this question will have a significant influence in the way joy plays out in your life. Are you hopeful or are you hope-filled? Hopeful is about placing your hope in something yet to come. Something that you're not quite yet sure about, but you're hopeful that it will play out, that circumstances will fall in a particular way. Hope-filled takes its orientation from an assurance and a foundation that has already come, that you already know and have seen and are aware of. And so are you hopeful or are you hope-filled? I want to look at two different scriptures today, two different stories, and have this question rolling through in our minds. Are we hopeful or are we hope-filled? I want to start in Isaiah chapter 8. The last couple of verses, 19 to 22. And before we read it, I just need to give you a context of what's happening here in the book of Isaiah. Isaiah is prophesying to his people, and they are under real threat of being invaded and overrun by the Assyrian army. The Assyrians are wiping everyone off the map. They're just taking nation after nation, and Isaiah's people are the next ones. And Isaiah writes to them or shares these words to them in that context. And the question that he is posing with them is like the question I have just asked you. Are you hopeful or are you hope-filled? Isaiah is saying to his people, where will you place your hope? And then I would add, as we read this, it's going to make a huge difference to their experience of joy and life, depending on where their hope is placed. So let's have that in mind as we read this text together from Isaiah chapter 8, verse 19. It says this: when someone tells you to consult mediums and spiritists who whisper and mutter, should not a people inquire of their God? Why consult the dead on behalf of the living? Consult God's instruction and the testimony of warning. If anyone does not speak according to this word, they have no light of dawn. And so distressed and hungry, they will roam through the land. When they are famished, they will become enraged, and looking upward will curse their king and their God. Then they will look towards the earth and see only distress and darkness and fearful gloom. And they will be thrust into utter darkness. They're ominous words, aren't they? An intimidating picture that the prophet paints for his people. They are faced with the choices. As an enemy army comes, do they form military alliances? Do they look to form connections with other nations to defend themselves? Do they play politics? Is there hope in politics? Or do they do the cultural practices of the day? The things that everyone else around them does in moments of need? Do they follow the culture of the nations around them, which says you need to go to the fortune teller, you need to go to the witch doctor, you need to consult those who can give you a word of knowledge for the path that you need to take? And Isaiah says, be very careful where you place your hope in this moment of need. Take notice of where you run to, because it will have a huge impact in your life. And Isaiah's clear, sharp call is, why consult the dead for advice on the living? Why would you do that? Why would you do that? And so my question is not today, have you gone and seen a tarot card reader in the last week? I'm not really wondering if you've gone to a fortune teller for advice. That's not really the cultural practices of our day, is it? But my question is more for you. Do you have an idol that you might be placing your hope in, that it would bring fulfillment, peace, hope, and joy to your life? Might you be looking among the dead for advice on life? The cultural practices are many among us. It's not hard for us to think, well, probably wealth or my career or my retirement fund. Could it be that this has formed an idol, that your sense of fulfillment, joy, purpose, and hope in life is tied up to the story of your wealth and the ongoing growth in that part of your life? Or could it be that opportunity or that is promising is tied to your sense of optimism for tomorrow? A relationship that everything hangs on, a business partnership that everything is about. Could it be that an idol has slipped into your life and your sense of joy and hope and purpose is attached to that idol? Or could it be in the everyday things of life, and something that might cut very deep as I say it? Could your summer holiday be the idol that's coming in a couple of weeks? Could your summer holiday be the idol that you think is just the thing that will reinvigorate my sense of joy? That happiness and fulfillment and all that I'm looking for in life is about to come. I've just got to make it to Boxing Day. I heard those words leave my mouth over the last week. And I wondered to myself, what am I saying when I say that? Is it that you're holding a belief that everything will be just fine when I make it to my summer holiday? Everything will be good. My anger will go away. My happiness will return. My tiredness and stress, it will be dealt with by my summer holiday. My stress and relationship challenge, it's going to be fine. We've just got to make it to the other side of Christmas. And that distance from God or whatever it is, it will sort itself out when I can get away and sit on the beach and read a good book. Everything will be good again. Could you have misplaced your hope in something that's not going to bring you sustained joy? Could simple, small, everyday things like this actually be cultural practices of looking for life among the dead? Being hopeful is a great mindset until, of course, the thing that you're placing your hope in turns out to not be a stable foundation. Until, of course, the wheels turn and it doesn't play out how you hoped. And Isaiah has these ominous words in response to moments where we place our hope in something and it doesn't quite play out how we would expect. Verse 21 and 22, Isaiah says, what happens when your hope is placed in the wrong place? Well, you don't have much joy. You look at the world, you look at God, and you become disenfranchised, you become frustrated, you become disappointed. God, why did you do this to me? I had it all planned out, I had it all set. Why did you do this to me? And then Isaiah says you would turn to the world and all you see is pain and destruction, war and loss and sin. And you become disenfranchised, disheartened, disillusioned with all that is not playing out the way that you thought that it would. Once the wheels turn, the money dries up, the relationship fails, or the perfect restful holiday turns out to be epically stressful, and you're back at your desk more tired than when you left, where are you then? The problem is that everything looks promising when you are hopeful. Everything looks great when the orientation of your life is hopeful until it isn't. And then it's too late. And it's bitterly disappointing, is the warning from Isaiah. But being hopeful is a different approach to life. Being hopeful is not, sorry, being hope-filled. Being hope-filled is a different approach to life. Because when you are hopeful, there's fun and happiness and there'll be some positive returns, but being hope-filled leads to an entirely different experience of joy. A joy that lasts beyond the circumstances of life. A joy that lasts beyond things falling in place the way that you would hope. So let's have a look at another story from the scriptures. A story that you probably know well. A story that we consult every Christmas. But a story maybe we don't go to for advice on life all that often. It tends to make a great context for a nativity play, but not a story that we often might think gives us advice and wisdom and guidance in our lives. I want to take us to Matthew chapter 2. And we're going to read from verse 1 to 12, and it's the story of the wise men and their trip to visit Jesus. Chapter 2 from verse 1 says this: After Jesus was born in Bethlehem in Judea, during the time of King Herod, Magi or wise men from the east came to Jerusalem and asked, "Where is the one who has been born King of the Jews? We saw his star when it rose and have come to worship him." When King Herod heard this, he was disturbed, and all Jerusalem with him. When he called together all the people's chief priests and teachers of the law, he asked them where the Messiah was to be born. "In Bethlehem in Judea," they replied, "for this is what the prophet has written." And then it quotes from Micah chapter 5, a piece of text speaking about where the Messiah would be born. And then in verse 7, Herod called the Magi secretly and found out from them the exact time the star had appeared. He sent them to Bethlehem and said, "Go and search carefully for the child. As soon as you find him, report to me, so that I may too go and worship him." And after they had heard the king, they went on their way. And the star they had seen when it rose went ahead of them until it stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw the star, they were overjoyed. On coming to the house, they saw the child with his mother Mary, and they bowed down and worshipped him. Then they opened their treasures and presented him with gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to go back to Herod, they returned to their country by another route. A wonderful, wonderful story. Our head of communications, Alicia Demond, shared a devotion this week in a meeting that I was in. And so I need to give you my references for some of what I'm going to say next, because she just shared this amazing devotion. And she opened in the devotion, she said, we realise, don't we, that we're not told how many wise men there are. There's not necessarily 3. And I thought, you sure, Alicia? I better check the text on that. There's 3 gifts. There's a plural of wise men. So I just thought that was fun, because you can add as many people as you want into this story. You can have anywhere from 2 to 30 or whatever you like. There's 3 gifts, but there's multiple wise men. It just rhymes to put "We 3 kings of Orient" in a song. It just works well, doesn't it? And Alicia went on and shared this wonderful devotion about these 3 kings that we often quickly walk past in the story. And so these men must be incredibly wise, incredibly smart. They must be like the elite of the elite, yes, because they have no claim to enter into this story. They have no right to wander halfway around the planet maybe and find their way to Bethlehem to be a part of this story. They're not Jews. They're not part of this story. They have nothing to protect, no image to maintain, no story to keep up by being a part of this narrative. And you know, the early Christians and Christians today are often accused that there's a hidden motive within their story, that there's some kind of other thing that they're trying to protect and maintain, and that's why they do what they do. The early church was accused of trying to cover up the death of Jesus. Everyone would say, "We saw him die, and now you're saying he's alive?" No, you're just sore losers. You just can't admit that you got it wrong, that he wasn't the Messiah. You must be wrong. In the church today, I hear people accuse the church of wanting to cover up try and maintain power, or try to hold on to wealth. And that's why the Christmas story is peddled, or the Easter story. It's got a hidden agenda about power. And the accusation is always that people in these stories are people who have something to hide, something to maintain, an agenda to keep up. Well, here the Magi have none of that. The Magi have no image to maintain. They're not Jews. There's nothing they're trying to protect. They come from a far off land in pursuit of something that has captured their life. There is no reason, no purpose, no hidden motive for them to be a part of this story other than they are captured by something powerful. They must be incredibly wise men. They study the philosophies and the religions of the world. They understand and know all of the different ideas, and they know the stories of the Jewish people so well that they even know to look for a star rising as a sign. Maybe for generations they have been looking and waiting and searching for this truth, and then this group of men, they see it, they realize it, and they pursue this King of the Jews. So intently and in depth do they know the story and seek after it that they notice the things that no one else seems to notice. If you doubt the Christmas story, look at the Magi. Look at these wise men. There is no reason for them to be in the story other than their lives have been captured by something profound, by something deeply true, by something that is fueling hope, a deep, deep hope. They are indeed hope-filled in this journey to find this King of the Jews. And so eventually they're dismissed by Herod. Eventually they arrive at Herod's palace, and they're in the land of the Jews. And I kind of find this story a little bit funny. You probably won't think it's funny, but I think it's funny, the first few verses of the story, that they rock up into the palace and they probably think, they've taken down all the decorations of the birth of the King of the Jews. You know, maybe we're a few months or a few years late. The camels were a bit slow on the journey, and, you know, we lost a bit of time along the way. And so they turn up into Herod's palace and think, all right, well, we'll just ask him where the king is, because he will know where the King of the Jews was born. And they turn up and Herod is none the wiser. And I imagine this confused conversation that makes me smile about them expecting that they would be given a red carpet towards the King of the Jews, and instead everyone else is confused. Herod doesn't know what to do. The Jews themselves don't realize, and they think, guys, have you looked in the sky? Did you not see the star? What is going on? And they have this conversation with Herod, probably confused, disheartened, disappointed. They had traveled many, many miles. Let's assume they traveled for months and years on foot to get to this place, to meet this king, and then they arrive and everyone says, What? What are you talking about? It would be somewhat disheartening if you'd given the last months or years of your life to something that looked like a dead end. And I wonder if you've ever felt like that in your own life. That you've given so much energy, so much time, so much effort to something, and then it feels like at the end of the journey, well, God, where are you? Have you left me high and dry? I've given everything to this, and now I'm in a spot that it seems like it's a dead end. It's disheartening, confusing, and disappointing. Did we get this right? Are we wrong? Did I misunderstand? If this has ever happened to you, this story of the wise men is a story for you. It's a story to consult. It's a story deeply aligned with our everyday experiences where we wonder, God, where are you? What are you doing? I thought this would play out differently. But they are sent to Bethlehem after the confusing interaction and all of the weirdness of Herod. They're dismissed and sent to Bethlehem. And as they travel, the star appears before them. And they are overjoyed at seeing this star. Now, I want you to notice Their joy comes before they meet Jesus. Their joy comes before they see the one who they have pursued in this long, long journey. Their joy is in seeing the kingdom at work in the world. Their joy comes before they meet this king. Joy is found in the pursuit of him, in the following of him, in the seeking of him. Joy is found by being a part of a kingdom story where we see God breaking through in earth. The Magi's experience is not joy because the circumstances of their journey proved them right. It's not joy because they had a bump in the road with Herod and then now they met Jesus and found joy and were proved right. Not at all. Joy came before the evidence of their journey was there. It was in the pursuit of this king. They are not hopeful. They are hope-filled. It's not circumstance that's dictating their joy. It's coming from something else. It's coming from a deep assurance. They already know. They are on this journey of pursuit, and joy abounds because they know there is truth, there is life, there is purpose, there is meaning, and they are witnesses to the story in their day. They see the signs and wonders and the evidence of the kingdom breaking through here on earth, and this is what brings them joy. A hope-filled posture does not rely on circumstances playing out in your way, but it finds hope along the journey of pursuit. As Alicia shared her devotion this week, she said this amazing thing that clearly the Magi, the wise men, are incredibly wise. And in their homeland, they would have been people who would have been consulted and connected with, reached out to as a guide, as a counselor. They would have been sought after for advice in life. Clearly, you wouldn't waste these guys, would you, if they lived in your town? You'd be seeking out their wisdom on all sorts of things if they were your friend or they lived in your town. They were sought after kings and leaders, the elite of the elite when it comes to wisdom. But here in this story, the sought after kings of wisdom seek after the King of Kings. The ones who are sought after begin a journey of seeking after the King. They don't rest on their laurels, sit back on their heels and say, oh, what do you know? We were right. We've been waiting and look, there's the star, fantastic. No, they've got to be a part of it. They've got to be in the game. In their wisdom, they know that there's no other place to be than on this journey of pursuit to find and meet and follow this King. The sought after kings seek after the King of Kings. Oh, how I want to be like the Magi in this world. Oh, how I want to live like them in my life today. Full of wisdom and growing in wisdom, but equally humble. Equally willing to give it all away and walk a journey of hardship and challenge and difficulty in pursuit of the ultimate truth, in pursuit of the one who will bring transformation and change to this world. Oh, how I want to be like the Magi in this world today, seeing the evidence of the kingdom of God at work in our world, but never so lazy as to think that's somebody else's to be involved in, or isn't it nice that I'm on the winning team? But driven, motivated, inspired to be in the game, a part of it, involved firsthand in what God is doing in this world. Oh, how I want to be like the Magi in this world. Not consumed by living in the place where I am, finding security in the respect of people, the wealth or wisdom of the place that I'm in, but instead willing to hand it all over in the pursuit and worship of Jesus. Oh, how I want to be like the Magi in this world today. and how I long to see an army of believers carrying the heart of the Magi into our world. An army of witnesses to the work of God in this world. An army of people who look to what God is doing, look to the kingdom breaking through, and then get up off their couch and are a part of that story. The people who are bold witnesses and see the difference that this witness would make to the world. Set apart, different, unique, seemingly following the things that no one else thinks is worthwhile or needed or important. Seemingly out of step with the culture. But what a difference Magi like this in our world would make, yes? What a difference to our world today Magi who work and live and operate in this way would make to this world. What a witness to the truth of this story. What a witness that there's nothing to hide. There's no hidden agenda. There's just abounding joy for any who get on this journey and seek after this King. Because here's the truth. It's not what you do that brings you joy. It's who you seek. It's not what you do that brings you joy. It's who you seek. So don't get me wrong. You deserve your summer holiday. Here you are, you come into church on the 15th of December and there's Lance bashing down on your summer holiday. It's okay. You deserve your summer holiday. Go and have a wonderful break. Spend time with family and friends, have great food, sleep in, relax, enjoy, do whatever it is that helps you to feel calm and refreshed after a busy year. You deserve your summer holiday. Get out of the city, get out into the country, go to the beach, look at all the wonderful things that God has created and enjoy this rest. You deserve it. But don't mistake your holiday for the pursuit of the King. Don't mistake what you do as the source of joy for the one who you seek. It's hopeful living when we place our hope in shifting things that may not come through. It's hopeful living when you're a parent of young kids that your holiday will refresh you. It's hope-filled living when your trust, your purpose, your identity, and your joy comes from somewhere else. It comes from a knowledge of the one who has sought you out, who has come to you, who has reached across the bounds of eternity to meet with you and call you home. It is a hope-filled life when we pursue this Jesus, when we fix our eyes on him. And joy abounds on this journey. So as we approach this Christmas and these holy days, as Alan has invited us to think of them, would you indeed treat them as holy days? Days devoted to the pursuits of this King. Friends, are you hopeful? Do you need circumstance to fall your way in this moment of life? Or are you hope-filled? Are you pursuing the one who carries eternal assurance, ultimate peace, ultimate restoration, who gifts us his presence and seeks for us to live in ultimate joy, in a deep and everlasting joy? Let's pray together. Would you stand? And we'll pray. Gracious God, we welcome your presence among us. We could have nothing more than to walk in step with you. There are so many things that we can be tempted to place our hope in. Just as Isaiah wrote to his people many thousands of years ago, there are cultural practices. There's political maneuvering. There's the pursuit of ideas and education and power and success that is so common around us that we can inadvertently find ourselves chasing after those same things. So, Lord, in this moment, would you show us? Would you show us if an idol has found its way into our own lives? Would you just niggle us now, Holy Spirit? If there's an uncomfortable thing in our heart, even an everyday thing like this holiday coming up in 2 weeks' time, whatever it is, would you just turn it over to Him now? Gracious God, we thank you that you abound in grace, that there is no condemnation from you, but you highlight to us and then you welcome us. So these things that maybe by the work of your Spirit you have highlighted to us now, we hand over to you and we accept and welcome your grace and your mercy in return. Jesus, we want to seek after you. We want to be like these wise men in this story, like these magi who celebrate and are overjoyed in the seeing of your kingdom breaking through, who are overjoyed through the journey of following after you. Lord, may that define our lives. Lord, may that define our church. Lord, may that define your church in this country, that we would find joy in seeking after you. And so, Lord, as we worship you in humility, with open hearts and open postures to you, we invite your Spirit to do a profound work in us. Thank you for the joy of this season. Thank you for the joy of these stories. Thank you for the joy that is gifted to us, offered to us in every season of life. We seek you, Lord, and we praise you in Jesus' name. Amen.